My upbringing. I had a pretty normal, as Rodney put it out, that really made me laugh a lot, because I think the point is that it doesn't matter how people look. You know, an addict can be anybody from, you know, a really affluent family to, you know, the stereotypical on the street junkie. It can affect anybody at any time, and I think that's important. I certainly didn't expect it to affect me, but here I am. So I had a pretty normal childhood. I have two older brothers, a younger sister. One of my brothers was a heroin addict, probably from the time I was 19. And that was like a cautionary tale to me. It was like, as long as I'm not doing that, I don't have a problem. You know, I can smoke marijuana every day, all day. I can take pills. I can do coke. I mean, anything under the sun. As long as I'm not doing heroin, then it's not a problem. It's okay. And that kept me using for a long time. I used that as, you know, justification, rationalization to continue doing what I was doing. I was always really anxious as a teenager. I never really felt like I fit in. Was never really comfortable in my own skin. And my late teen years, my parents got divorced, and I went with my mother, and she did not handle the divorce well and put a lot of it on me, and that was kind of the tipping point, I think, for me, for my addiction to really take off. I felt responsible for her and two of my other siblings who were doing really bad things, and I was the responsible one, you know, the one who could be counted on to do the right thing and all that stuff, and I felt like I had to live up to that. And then plus, you know, taking care of my mother, who was just not dealing with the divorce well at all. But at that point, I don't think I really looked at it as a problem. It was more like, you know, I was going out with friends and drinking or smoking or, you know, whatever, and it was, you know, recreational, but it was, you know, pretty constant. When I got into my early 20s, I had a fair amount of dental work done and was prescribed a lot of painkillers, and that was the beginning of the end for me. Once I experienced opiates, and it was all downhill from there. I manipulated my dentist, you know, said things hurt more than they did, you know, would cry, whatever I needed to do to get another prescription, I did. I would go to emergency rooms and fake back injuries to get pain medicine. I would manipulate my husband into doing, you know, faking injuries, things like that. I would steal. My mother had breast cancer a number of times and had her own prescription for painkillers. I would steal them. I would manipulate her into giving them to me. I would, you know, cry and, you know, anything I had to do, whatever it was, to get the next one, I did. And I hated myself for it. But it didn't stop me. I kept on doing it. I got pregnant, and I continued to use through my pregnancy. And thankfully, my daughter does not have any negative effects from that. She's now 5 years old and healthy. So I'm blessed for that. But through using throughout my pregnancy, the guilt and shame and everything else that comes with that just made me use more. And it was, like they say in the literature, never enough. I couldn't get away from myself no matter what I did. And that was an absolutely horrifying feeling. Like crawling out of your own skin, and you can't stand your own company. I mean, that's awful. But that's exactly how I felt. Couldn't stand my own company. After my daughter was born, I want to say she was maybe a year old, I decided enough was enough and that I needed help. So I went to get help, and they prescribed me Suboxone, which is an opiate replacement medication, basically. And I used and abused that for a number of years. Lied, anything I could do to get more. Took more than I was prescribed. My sister was also on it. I would, take them from her. My brother, who was a heroin addict, was in treatment and was on methadone. When I couldn't get my Suboxone, I would buy his methadone from him, knowing full well he was going to take that money and go buy heroin, and that he could die. And that's just complete insanity, but that's what addiction does to you. So I was on Suboxone for a few years, and I still hated myself and felt like I was a slave to something, and I did not like that feeling at all. And I wanted desperately to get off of it, and so I did, quite by accident, actually. I went on a cruise with my husband, and I had brought enough medication with me for the entire length of the trip, but was so caught up in the fun, and I was relaxed and outside of my normal environment, that I forgot to take it. And it was, I think, 3 days before I realized I hadn't taken it, and I felt okay. So I was like, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm done with this. This is fantastic. Yeah, and then I got violently ill, horrible anxiety, really bad depression. I had to go out on FMLA from work. I literally could not function. It was just an awful experience. I wanted to die, really. And I got through that. I was still doing other drugs because I didn't see, marijuana's no big deal. Everybody smokes marijuana. That's not a problem. And I don't have a problem with alcohol. It was really opiates for me. So I thought, well, I'm not doing that anymore. I can still do these other things, and this is okay. But it wasn't. It wasn't okay. And my life was still a mess. I was having problems in my marriage. My relationship with my mother was at its breaking point. And I think I had been off the Suboxone for a couple of months. And I can remember vividly sitting outside work, having a cigarette, having a really bad day, and picking up the phone to call my sister and ask her for a Suboxone. And thankfully, she didn't have any because she was abusing it too, so she was out. And it just hit me, how much of a hold that had on me and how out of control I felt. And knowing that I didn't have any drugs and having to sit in that panicked, desperate feeling, I never ever wanted to feel that way again. And so I came to my second NA meeting. I had come before while I was on Suboxone and didn't stay. That's another story, but I came around. This time I stayed. I had been seeing a therapist who told me my problem with NA was a couple of things, the reasons that it kept me away. One, I felt like if I do that, I'm a dork and nobody's gonna like me and I'm not gonna be cool anymore, and the whole tragic hip, fatal cool bullshit. But I bought into that. And the second thing was it's a religious program, and I don't have a God. I don't believe in God. I was borderline atheist agnostic. I wasn't sure. I was like, I can't go. I don't believe in God, so that's not going to work for me. And a therapist told me The second step says, we came to believe. And if you break that down, it's we came, so show up. Eventually you'll come to out of your drug haze. And if you stay long enough, maybe you'll come to believe something. But you have to show up is the first part. And I did. I showed up, and listening to the Who is an Addict reading was like, holy shit, there's an explanation for why I'm so fucked up. And it was a peaceful feeling for me. I felt like there's hope. You know, I'm not alone in being out of my mind, I guess I should say. There's other people like me who have gone through the same things and understand and will be there for me. I just had to reach out for that help, which has not historically been an easy thing for me to do. I was hell-bent on being independent, and I don't need anybody's help. I mean, through my entire life, I was that way. I'm going to do it myself, and I don't need anybody, and look where that got me. It's horseshit. You need people. You need relationships. You need support. I shouldn't say you. I don't know about you guys. I need it. I need relationships with other recovering addicts. I need support. I need this fellowship. I need to work the 12 steps. I've tried every other way I could think of. I've bargained with myself. I'll only use on weekends, or I won't use that drug, or whatever complete nonsense I told myself. But it never worked. Never, ever worked. And I thought, how arrogant of me to think that this fellowship that has worked for millions of people couldn't possibly work for me, because I'm so different and special that, you know, no, that's not going to apply to me. And what I found is it absolutely does. It has helped me become a better wife, a better daughter, a better person, better mother. I'm there for my daughter today. I support her. It sounds ridiculous to say it out loud, but I talk to her about her feelings, which is not something that, you know, comes or did come naturally to me. Like, feelings, what do you mean? You stuff those and you don't talk about them and you don't let them show, and, you know, that, you know, you gotta be strong and whatever. So today, I try to feel my feelings as much as they suck a lot. I get angry. I get sad. I feel disappointed. But on the flip side of that, I feel joy. Seeing my daughter grow, watching her become, you know, a little person. You know, I fight with my husband today, which I never did. We got along to get along. You know, it was we never fought about anything. I mean, we were using together, so it was like nothing was that important. You know, let's just whatever and let's get high. Today I fight with him, and I'm learning it's okay. You know, normal people do that, and I'm grateful for that. I've built an amazing network of women here, and reached out, and people have been there for me, which is an amazing feeling. To know that you can count on people and that they'll be there for you is overwhelming to me. So I think that's really all I had to share. I'm grateful for this program. I'm grateful for the people in it, and looking forward to continuing my recovery and becoming a better person, and changing every day. So, thank you. I'll keep coming back.